Hello everyone, this is Miss Davis, and today we're going to work on dirt. And it's not the kind of dirt that's on the ground, it's your first formula for physics. So open up your spiral notebooks to your assignment tracker, and today is September 10th while you're there working. And the assignment that you're going to work on today is dirt, which is like this. And first you're going to take some notes, and then you're going to do some practice. Alright, once you have that done, find a clean page in your notebook, and we're going to get started. On the top of the clean page in your spiral, you're going to put the date again, September 10th, and this is your title, so write this, Dirt Notes and Practice. So that's what we're going to work on. Alright, let's get going. So here's what this is. So you've learned the distance between distance and displacement, and now we're going to talk about what rate means. So the definition of rate is the change in the distance compared to the change in the time. And so distance is a word that we already talked about, not the same as displacement. We're only going to talk about distance. And time, you pretty much know what that is, right? We measure it in minutes and seconds and all that stuff. So, an example of a rate is miles per hour, which is when you're in your car, you're driving or somebody else is driving, you measure the rate that you're going. Another word for that is measuring your speed in miles per hour. So notice right in there that the miles part tells you that you're measuring a distance, and the hour is measuring your time. So MPH for miles per hour literally tells you that it's the distance per the amount of time, which is the definition of rate. So this is something that you already knew, you just didn't know that it was hidden in your brain. What we're going to do with this is we are going to learn this formula, dirt. So you need to remember D equals RT. So all the different pieces, the D stands for distance, the R stands for rate, and the T stands for time. Now remember, even though there's nothing in here between the R and the T, there's secretly a dot, which means that we're going to multiply rate and time together. So when we do that math, there's a secret multiplication in there. Now the bad thing about this is all of these dirt problems are word problems. So I'm going to give you a strategy to help you go through those word problems because they can get kind of complicated. So when you're doing this math, what you're going to do is a system called guess. You're not actually going to guess, but it stands for some things. So the G stands for you're going to write down whatever you're given. Basically, you're just going to look for whatever numbers the question has. The U is what's unknown. What's the thing that I don't know yet? What am I looking for? Another way to say that is, what am I trying to solve for? That's what the U means. The E is where you're going to write the equation, and for all of these, we're going to use the same dirt equation. So you're going to write it every time to help you figure out where those numbers should go. S is where we substitute. This is exactly what you did in your warm-up. You're going to take the numbers and put them in place of the letters. And then you're going to solve with all those math skills that we've been working on. So I'm going to do 3 examples with you. Make sure that you have this written in your notes because you're going to use it over and over and over. When you're writing these next questions in your notes, you don't have to write. See all of this question? I wouldn't write that in my notes. Don't worry about it. It's on the screen. It's okay. What I want you to focus on is writing down the math work that I write on the screen. Okay? If you want to write this, you can, but that's not a big deal. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to try a question where we solve for distance. Okay? So let's use our guess format. So first we have to see what are we given in this question. The easiest way to do that is let's just go through, there's a number, and there's a number. Don't look at any of the other words, it gets really long and confusing. They gave me one of the numbers is 8 seconds and 15 meters per second. And I like to write the units afterwards because that helps me figure out what all of the pieces are. So now I can see, I know that 8 seconds, that must represent a time. And this 15 meters per second, whenever you have something over something else, that always is your rate. Okay, so that's a clue to help you figure out that that number is a rate. So if I have time and rate, the thing that I don't know, the unknown, is the distance. Okay, that's the D part of the formula. The other way that you can check this is the question up here says, how far in meters did they run? So this word right here, how far, is what I would measure in distance. Okay, so we know that we're looking there. So let's write our equation down, dirt. Now let's try to put the numbers in that we know. Okay, so now we're going to substitute. The D is the thing that I don't know, so that becomes like the X. I have no idea what it is. The R is the rate, which we said was 15. And I'm going to put parentheses to show multiplication. You could also use the dot if you prefer that way. Next to that I'm going to put the T, which is my time, and I know that that's 8. Okay? Another way that you could write that is 15 times 8. Those are the same thing, so you find your preference. It doesn't really matter. That'll come out the same. Alright? To solve this, you basically just need to multiply those two numbers together, and when you do that, you get x equals 120, and the distance is measured in meters. Alright, so that's your first dirt example. We just solved how far did they run. Notice that we didn't read the question that much, just use this guess, and it's going to make your math a lot easier. So let's try another one. Again, I wouldn't write this down. Oops, sorry about that. This is kind of long. If you want to, you can, but let's just focus on the math together. So this time it tells us that we're going to solve for rate. So those questions are going to have some of the same pieces, but our math might look a little different. So we're going to start with the givens again. So I like to highlight. Here's a number and here's a number. Those are my given pieces. So one of the things says 40 meters, and the other thing that I'm given is 5 seconds. So if I think about those numbers, meters measures distance. So there's the D part of the formula. And seconds measures time. So notice that the unknown, the piece they didn't give me, is the rate, or the R piece. Okay? We know that we're right with that because the question says, what rate is he running at? Okay? So I definitely am looking for R. So now let's write our equation. So dirt. And now we're going to substitute, where we put the numbers in for the letters. So the first one is the D, the distance, and I know that that's 40, so I'll put that there. Next is the R. We said R is unknown, so that's the piece I don't know. I'm going to make that X. Then T, which is time. I'm going to put parentheses. Time they gave us was 5. Okay? Now you could also write this, if it bothers you, as 40 equals 5x. That's the same thing. And that's a little bit closer to what you're used to seeing. So now to solve this, you're going to divide both sides by 5. You need to write down all of that work. Okay? This cancels out. So when we solve it, the final answer that we get is x equals 8. And it tells us the rate, again, something over something, is meters per second. Alright, so we've done distance, we've done rate, and let's do one more example. Let's now try to solve for time. Let's see if that T piece was unknown. So again, I wouldn't write down the whole question, let's just guess this. So to look for my givens, I want to highlight the numbers. Here's one, here's one. That's all I care about. So let's think about those numbers. 8 km means 8 kilometers. That measures distance, how far you drove. The other one is 15 kilometers per hour. So this number right here, it's something over something. That number represents a rate. Okay? The unknown that they didn't give me was time, which is the T. So think about your equation, dirt, okay. They gave me the distance. We're going to substitute in 8. That goes where the D is. The R number is 15 because that's the rate, and T is X because that's my unknown. I don't know what the time is yet. I have to figure that out. So now if we're going to solve, 8 equals 15x. We're going to divide both sides by 15. Remember to show that work, okay? We end up with x equals 8 over 15. Put that into your calculator, and let's see, I get 0.53, and because we were looking for a time, it's 0.53 hours, so it's about a half an hour. So now what you're going to do is you've got some problems like this that you have to solve on your own. So go back to Google Classroom, find your practice problems. I want you to solve them in your notebook, and when you're done, take a picture and show your work. Good luck!